ain't stopping at this hotel, kid. My hotel. The stars at night, I put 'em there. I know the president's all of 'em. And I go right damn well pleased.
Good morning, everyone.
You ain't stopping at this hotel, kid.
Oh.
My hotel. The stars at night, I put them there. And I know the president's all. Sorry.
No, because welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press Retrospective. We're back in season 2 of the failed blockbusters. The first 4 episodes are available all right now. Go check them out. Also, the entire first season, go check it out. Now, that quote you just said, for as long as I've known you through the power of social media and the internet, that has been your pinned tweet. All this video from Emperor of the North, from the scene where Lee Marvin berates a young David Carradine.
And if you want to know like how well loved this movie is on YouTube, that's the best clip I could find of that scene. And it's someone just pointing a camera at their TV screen.
Yep.
And you can't find a lot of Emperor of the North out there, which is a little sad.
Yeah, which is also why I'm going to direct everyone to the Internet Archive. It's in the name. It's the Internet Archive. It's about a bunch of, you can get a bunch of files, books, newspapers, movies, TV shows, available from your fingertips. You just click away at the keyboard, and the Internet Archive probably has a copy of something for you, especially stuff that is not really available anywhere else.
Yeah.
Some fucking chuds saw it as like piracy, and it's like, no, it's just an archive of
it's a
everything
library
that's been on the
online.
internet.
It's a
Yes.
library.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
And some people were like, oh, you just fucking, it's illegal. And it's like, no, it's not. Shut up. Chuck Wendig, you fucking clown. But anyways, that's how I saw Emperor of the North for the first time.
And you can also find the original cut of Star Wars on there, believe it or not.
Really? I didn't know that.
I was scrolling through and I saw it listed as one of them.
Yeah, look, before we get to Emperor of the North, then let's fucking just say our piece on that, because I feel like I need to get it out of my system. There's nothing wrong with changing stuff, especially with like the artist's intention behind it, right? I believe even Wong Kar-wai has gone on to change elements of films like Fallen Angels and Chungking Express in their 4K recent releases. Those end credits to Chungking Express are now very jarring because they're very 2021, and the rest of the film is decidedly and importantly not. But whatever, as long as the original versions are still available, that's fine. And as far as I know, you can still obtain those original versions. Star Wars, you kind of can't unless you have the DVDs, which I do.
Or the laser discs.
Or the laser discs.
Or VHS tapes.
Or VHS, yeah.
Or Betamax.
Or Betamax, yeah. And I think it's just like there's artistic integrity, and then there's also like just historical integrity. You know, it's important to keep stuff like alive. And if no one else is doing it, sometimes you got to do it yourself.
I'm going to throw this out there. This might be George Lucas slander, so I apologize.
Yeah, he is our boy.
I would like someone, it might not be after this, but I would like someone to correct me on this if it's not true. I've read in a few places that part of the reason why George Lucas actually went in and like redid the Star Wars original trilogy as extreme as he did, was in like a convoluted way to screw his ex-wife out of royalties, because she's the credited editor on the original cuts.
I believe we had brought that up in the original Star Wars retrospective.
Yeah. And it seems like a wild internet rumor. It's hard to find any sources on it, but it's Lucas is a weird guy.
Yeah.
Is a very strange guy. But yeah, it sucks that they're not available, but hey,
that's not what we're here to talk about, though.
We're not here to talk about that.
We're here to talk about Emperor of the North, also known as Emperor of the North Pole.
Yes, that's how it was originally released.
Yeah. 1973 American action adventure film. That's how it's referred to on the Wikipedia.
Sure.
Directed by Robert Aldrich.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, I know you love Robert Aldrich.
Big fan of Robert Aldrich.
Is this your favorite of his?
It might be. I mean, I don't know. It's like, because he's got fucking The Dirty Dozen, like Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte, like he's got The Big Knife. Longest Yard, which like he's got a few movies that I fucking love, and I think Emperor of the North might just be my favorite, just out of like a personal feeling, like this one I just kind of vibe with a lot. Although I think Dirty Dozen is a better movie, but
Have I told you my dark secret about that movie?
which one, Dirty Dozen?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. When I first saw it, I was like 18, and I was like, what is this? I thought it was gonna be like some badass man on a mission movie. And like I just couldn't connect with it. And to this day, having obviously rewatched it a bunch of times since then, I don't know why I didn't like it when I first saw it.
You know what? It seems to be a common response. People don't respond super strongly to the Dirty Dozen. And I don't really know. I think it's just that Robert Aldrich isn't like a super showy director,
That what? That might be it.
I think, which I like, the older I get, the more I appreciate like just kind of subtle, like more classic filmmakers like that just do very basic economic shots, but they just do it better than anyone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
like I mean, what's that one fucking saying? It's like, you want, like, it's about magic tricks, something like that. It's like you want to fool the audience, but you don't want them to know they're being fooled,
Yeah.
And it's like directors like Robert Aldrich, whose work I have not seen the entirety of. Let me just say, I've only seen Dirty Dozen, Kiss Me Deadly, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, The Longest Yard. I haven't even seen the original Flight of the Phoenix, but I have seen the remake.
Oh God.
Yeah. I remember thinking that one was okay, but not like, and I've never gone back to it since I saw it on DVD. So like, and now Emperor of the North. So it's only a handful, but part of his power is like, as a director, is absolutely what you're saying, like the staging of the scenes, stuff like that. And they are like economic, is a good way of putting it. They're not like immediately thrilling, but you get like every little bit of like story necessary from what you're seeing and hearing on screen. So like I think of like the moment when like Ernest Borgnine is like fucking berating that dude for not, he thinks like for not taking part of the train when the train's on fire. Everyone else is trying to put out the fire behind him. The fire's still raging, and it's like, it's not like,
and it's just Borgnine's face, like it's Borgnine's face in the frame, like it's wild. Like,
no, I'm not even talking about like the wide shot of that. Like it's not the flashiest way to shoot that, but it's like, okay, that's the story for this train conductor right there.
Yeah.
This movie rules is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's great. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out on archive.org or whatever. I think that's the URL.
I'll link it in the show notes, because like donate to them if they're taking donations.
Yes, exactly. I think they're always taking donations.
Yeah, I can't imagine why.
Yeah. I think some asshats are maybe trying to sue them, which is the exact opposite thing you want to do given the current climate.
Yeah.
But some liberals need to get their priorities together. But
just get out and vote.
Hey,
sorry.
We got to vote Shaq off this train.
Yeah, that's the only way we're gonna do it.
That's the only way we're gonna do it. But also I was gonna say, like, so he, like, Aldrich, I wouldn't say is like super showy, but talking about a showy director, Tony Scott, you can tell he lifted shots directly from this movie for Unstoppable.
Yeah,
like the way the train is shot, especially like the wide shots and stuff like that. It's just this a lot of the time. So there's a guy who just took those pieces and then like exploded it. So there's two ways to do it, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But no, this is I'm glad you liked it. I wasn't sure how it would play, because it is one of those things where, like, I feel like I'm the only one out there going like The Dirty Dozen is like almost a perfect movie. And people out there are kind of like, yeah, it's all right, but what's so good about it? And then I'm out here. This one, I found some people like, this feels like the one that when people find it, they champion it. That they're like, no, this is actually really great. Was not a critical hit in its time,
or a box office hit,
which is why it's here.
Yeah, it's technically like everyone kind of contributes Jaws to being like the film that created the blockbuster. So this is like, we're kind of cheating a little bit
Mhm.
but whatever.
I mean, no, there's
the
yeah,
qualifications still count.
yeah. If it didn't make money, it's a failed blockbuster as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there you go. So
Um,
no Pacific Rim, unfortunately.
mm,
Uh
maybe next year. Maybe next year.
I mean, it did make enough to get it made
Oh yeah,
money.
it did make money, but it
Yeah.
also was like a weird, like I don't know. You could argue that it should be on the list.
I
feel
would
like.
absolutely argue that. And then I'd talk about Guillermo del Toro's brilliant idea for the sequel that when I heard it, I was like, oh shit, I had something like that planned for something. So I
Well,
mean,
just
the
steal it.
game recognized game.
They
is what
didn't
I'm
do it.
saying.
They didn't do it, so you can still do it.
Yep. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Dirty Dozen on Letterboxd right now, and it's like most people gave it like 4 stars, and then it's like a bunch of threes, and then like a few twos. And I'm like, no, that's a fucking perfect movie. Like, I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know why people. It just doesn't feel like Aldrich has talked a lot these days, aside from like Kiss Me Deadly or whatever happened to Baby Jane.
Mhm.
Like those two, because I think they're a little different. Whereas, no one's talking about Vera Cruz or even The Longest Yard, which is like kind of an important movie. Like that kind of is like leads to like the vulgarity of cinema changing in the 70s.
Mhm.
And I think more people know the Adam Sandler remake.
Yeah, right now.
So yeah, I'm glad you liked it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Matt, what's the movie actually about?
All right. It's the height of the great. It has a great opening crawl about like
I
it
know,
being
it's
the height
fucking-
of the Great
It makes you
Depression.
feel fucking like epic.
Yeah, it's like, no, you don't under fucking stand. It's the fucking Emperor of the North. Like, and then I guess it has this great opening crawl about it being the height of the Great Depression. And then it goes into what might be the worst theme song for any movie.
Yeah, what happened there?
No idea. Who's written by Frankie Devon and sung by lyrics by Hal David. Let me look up the lyrics because it's really terrible. I just want to get the lyrics out there real quick.
Yeah, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it was one of those where it's just like maybe that's why people don't like it, because that's a really bad note to start on.
Yeah. Also, I said David. Wait, really quick. I said David Carradine earlier. I
yeah,
meant
it's Keith
Carradine.
Keith Carradine.
That's the other one.
Yes, I missed it, so we both fucked up. All right, a man and a train and a man. They both tire to run as hard and as fast as they can. God, that's clunky. But a man's not a train, and a train's not a man. A man can do things that a train never can. That's the opening line.
Oh, it's I guess it's not wrong.
Yeah. So it's the height of the Great Depression, and it's hobos are, they got to ride the rails to get places. And now I think something maybe the movie misses on a little bit, or maybe they just weren't interested in telling, is that hobos weren't just riding the rails to like just fuck around and go places. They had to, that was their only way to get to jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They had no other options in the 30s to get across the country because they're hobos and they're fucking broke. So that's why they ride the rails. And there's train number 19, which is run by Shaq, who he fucking hates hobos. And the opening of this movie is him just beating a man with a hammer, a hobo that hops on his train with a hammer, and then letting him fall under the train and get crushed to death. So that's the opening.
Yeah, that's kind of brutal.
A very brutal opening. And then we get opening credits. So why was the song here?
Maybe it was like a way or an attempt to like alleviate some of the tension, because Ernest Borgnine and Lee Marvin, to his credit,
They're
play
both
like excellent crazy
intense
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Ernest Borgnine has like cartoonishly like bloodthirsty eyes as he's beating this dude down to onto the train tracks. So maybe they're like, okay, let's let everyone know that we're trying to make a good time here.
Yeah. Weird note to start on.
Very weird. Literally, apart from that theme song, it's all fine now. It's all good.
Yeah. And so our main character though is Lee Marvin as number one, who is
the greatest hobo of them all.
The greatest hobo of them all. And It's basically about him and Keith Carradine and their challenge to ride Shaq's train all the way to Portland. And if you can ride Shaq's train and live, then you'll be Emperor of the North Pole, which is an actual term that hobos used to use, I guess, which it's like poking fun at, like, if you're the world's greatest hobo, you don't actually rule anything, you know? Like, there is no Emperor of the North Pole, of course.
Yeah.
Good hobo stuff. A lot of hobo. What should the term be? I feel like hobo should be an aesthetic.
Maybe it can be. Maybe that's the next TikTok trend.
Hobo punk. There we go.
Yeah, this is a very hobo punk movie.
Yeah.
It may have invented the hobo. Well, that's not true. No.
That's not true. There's like the tramp and shit like that. Although
yeah.
Angel Mencken points out because I was trying to look up what the origin of the word hobo was, and there's no like definitive answer on it. Like, no one knows where the word hobo really came from. I think it might come from like hoboy, which is like a term that relates to farmhand. Or homeward bound, but like there's no one can really figure it out. But H.L. Mencken wrote in his book American Language in 1937, tramps and hobos are commonly lumped together, but in their own sight they are sharply differentiated. A hobo or beau is simply a migratory laborer. He may take some longish holidays, but soon or late he returns to work. A tramp never works if it can be avoided. He simply travels. Lower than either is the bum, who neither works nor travels, save when impelled to motion by the police.
Goodness.
So there's some history for you.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. Something else I want to talk about is that the pacing of a movie like this is very different than what we're used to now.
Yeah.
And I think, to go back to the Dirty Dozen, that's also something that kind of threw me off. Like,
yeah,
you mentioned that a recent film maybe could have used this. I don't agree or disagree. I thought it was an interesting point, but where the first half of Dirty Dozen is like 90 minutes of like training and setup for a mission they're about to go on.
Mm-hmm.
The finale is the mission. That's kind of it. And I think it works. And Emperor of the North Pole, the actual like, I guess like trial by train doesn't like, it's not even like brought up until like 45 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, it takes a little while to get there.
Yeah.
But that's what I like about it. I like that
I do
pacing.
too.
I don't know why it's fallen out of style.
Well, because third acts, you have to leave the audience on like a big high, and you got to have a huge finale.
Yeah, but you can still like, do that.
I know I know, but people think like, oh, it's got to be like 30 to 45 minutes long. Your climax has to have everything in it. It's like, if you have everything, you have nothing. And this is like the actual like third act of this movie is like 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it's terrific. It's like the first act is like the longest at about like 50 minutes, maybe even more, less. And then like you got another half hour of the second act stuff with the actual like competition on the train. And then, climax and resolutions like maybe 2 minutes.
I like long first acts. I think it's a thing.
I do too.
I mean, I love that. Like, that's why The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is one of my favorite movies, because it literally takes an hour for the plot of that movie to actually start.
Mm-hmm. But you're still getting character stuff. And I think that's like what people think is like, you can only do that like through rudimentary like plot mechanics. It's like, well, you have to.
Well, I think it's that writer is king studio bullshit of like, you have to know what the movie's about 15 minutes in.
Yeah. Like I get right now why people can't really push back against that. There's no real like new creatives who have that kind of power. And that's nothing against the actual creatives working right now. It's just the way the industry is like built against them. I'm sure there are plenty of people that want to do different things.
But also a lot of the people that very much pride themselves on being writers, people I like will kind of repeat that sort of mentality, you know? I mean, the movie you were referring to was James Gunn's The Suicide Squad.
Yes.
And I have problems with both Suicide Squads. I think they both fail in that regard of just being a remake of The Dirty Dozen. His is definitely much better. His is at least a coherent film, I just don't understand why we're doing these men on a mission movies that that don't at least imply they've been training together. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like, because another like a clear fan of Men on a Mission movies is Tarantino. And in Glorious Bastards, we get the introduction to the Bastards, and then we just cut ahead to them already kind of like a year into their guerrilla warfare,
Hmm.
Like it's you can do that. You don't have to show the training. But movies are so much like, no, we're all going to get to know each other on the mission. And it's like, no, don't do that. Like I don't like that just it never works for me, unless it's a like I always call it like a D&D story of like you get like you're in a tavern and a fight breaks out and all these people have to team up for some reason,
Yeah.
and that leads to the mission. And then of course you're going to learn who everyone is on the trip in that instance. But if you're literally like, we got to put a team together, it's like everyone should have known each other's backstory by the time they got to the island. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I don't know. It just bugs me that it feels like something that A, studios push back against, and B, writers don't even want to do. Because Suicide Squad definitely felt like James Gunn had like a blank check, basically, like could just do whatever he wanted because like no one stopped him on that fucking movie.
Yeah, and I still really like that movie. I definitely think it's probably the weakest of his films.
Yeah, it's just it's the James Gunn's moments are good. It's just not as well put together, I feel. As
Yeah. And I'm gonna use this instance to also continue recommending Peacemaker to you, because that is like by the end that's like another level of
everyone seems to like Peacemaker, even people that don't like James Gunn. So I gotta check it out.
I think you'll really like it, especially by the end. Just throwing that out there. But anyways, Emperor of the North. Peacemaker is not Emperor of the North.
What is Emperor of the North? What is Emperor of the North?
Well, I disagree that it's an action adventure film.
It is definitely like one of those like proto action movies, though.
Yes,
like it
is. I mean, like even the narrative, like the very idea of like hanging a story like this on a train, like where's the train going? It's like going nowhere, but people feel the need to like have control over their own agency and like the world around them, and it's like it's a story about capitalism.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why it takes place in the 1930s.
Trains are often just a great metaphor for capitalism.
Yeah,
like it's they really work in that way. But also, hobos are like if you make a movie about hobos, your film becomes like inherently political. You know, which is I guess the reason why we don't see too many homeless characters in cinema. Even though they see it feels like you go back, to fucking Charlie Chaplin and shit. Like they used to be all over cinema, and they used to be everywhere, and like lovable bums and shit like that. And now they're just completely gone because we're terrified of homeless and mentally ill people.
And frankly, again, people don't want to make political movies, or rather, studios don't want to make too many political movies.
It feels. Here's the thing, though. It feels like a hobo is like a great way to sneak in a political message. Like because you're not going like, yeah, this is about fucking how California has really anti-homeless architecture or something, right? Like you're not like you don't have to be open about that. You just go like it's about a hobo. We got to figure out how this guy fucking lives. And it's, of course he's going to fight a cop at one point. Like,
oh yeah, that was terrific.
Lee Marvin, that's the other thing. People talk about the opening of this movie because it's like a terrible song. Ernest Borgnine beats a guy to death. And then Lee Marvin beats children with like a turkey.
It's a chicken.
Oh yeah, chicken the first time around.
Was in heaven.
It's a great like first 10 minutes of this movie.
Oh my God. I couldn't believe it. I was like, is the whole movie going to be like this? And like, yes and no. Like it's not just like a zany wacky adventure. Like it has many things on its mind and it's very fucking well directed. But once I saw Lee Marvin smack a child with a chicken, I knew I was gonna enjoy like at least most of it, and I enjoyed all of it.
Yes. You're saying I'm talking about the weird reception of this movie. It got bad reviews in its day. Ebert gave it 2.5, and Siskel gave it 1.5 stars.
I saw that.
And it's funny to read their reviews, and they're both like, it's got a lot of energy, but it's just like it's like what are we supposed to care about? The violence is pointless. And then you read Tarantino, who wrote a review recently, and he was reviewing something else, but he brought up Emperor of the North, and his whole take is that the movie's actually too sentimental and not violent enough.
That's weird. I disagree with all three of those people.
I know, I will say, like, I get the kind of like it might get a little too sentimental in certain areas. I think like it does kind of paint like hobo culture a little too like broadly like positive, I guess is what I'm saying. And but it understandably they're the heroes of the movie. But they're a little one note, but I don't know. I don't agree in its totality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess like because Tarantino also mentions like let me just read a quick excerpt. Theoretically, Aldrich should have been perfect for Emperor of the North, but instead of the muscular, rusty claw hammer type direction you'd expect from the big man, I like that he calls him the big man. Aldrich gives him the corny 30s theatrics. Like, I guess what? Maybe that's kind of like the theatrical nature of some of the performances that he gets is maybe what kind of put me off the Dirty Dozen originally. I just wasn't watching a lot of movies like that at the time, and I it's very different from acting now. That's neither a good or bad thing. It just is. And
there's no Lee Marvin today.
Yeah,
like, there's no equivalent to,
which
or Borgnine. Like,
yeah, which I think even Tarantino said at one point. He's like, "There's no Lee Marvin. Everyone looks too pretty or whatever the fuck." And it's like people are just different. They change. That's fine. That's not. I don't agree with that as a criticism. It is a fact though that it's just different now.
It is kind of sad that you just don't see movies with guys who look like they've fucking been hit in the face a few times.
Yeah, Ben Affleck now. I think that's why I genuinely like love him.
That's
like,
why
I'm realizing that I love Ben Affleck. He looks like every day is like a struggle to get out of bed for him.
Yeah,
and I think that's beautiful.
I think it's the appeal of Affleck. I think it's the appeal of Adam Sandler. I think it's the appeal of big Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
And I think it's the appeal of big Brendan Fraser. Like,
Brendan Fraser,
like he just has a presence now, and I'm not like discounting his earlier work, like, but it's like now like late era him is just like really fascinating.
Yeah, I just rewatched No Sudden Move, and fuck, man, he's so good.
I know he's so good in that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in Scorsese's next movie.
I know. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
It comes out this year supposedly.
We'll see about that. But,
we'll see. But
and then I'll finally have to get Apple subscription or whatever, Apple TV.
Yeah, they got Ted Lasso, which I still have to write about.
It feels like though that like of the streaming services, I feel like the most quality stuff seems to be coming out of Apple. Like,
yeah, I don't know what it is, but their shit actually looks like good too. Like there's a lot of great shows I like that sometimes look like shit.
Are you telling me that the company
they don't look like they're graded or anything like that?
Are you telling me the company that makes a bunch of products that look really cool and fancy but actually run like shit are good at making good looking streaming films?
Yes. Well, here's the thing. I actually haven't seen any of the films, I don't think.
Yeah, neither have I. It just feels like people are kind of like people that have Apple TV subscriptions are always out there being like, actually, they got like a great selection. And they aren't like constantly flooding the market either, like you're not like overwhelmed with the amount of choices.
The shows look really good too. Like I haven't seen Foundation. But
did Foundation get canceled?
No, it's on season. It's gonna get a season 2.
Okay.
Yeah, but that show looked like amazing in the trailer.
It just feels like
it
Foundation
looks like a movie.
It just feels like Foundation might be impossible to adapt.
Sure, but I don't know the source material either. And it is a show by David Goyer. I think he's show running it. So like, who knows? I've heard it's at least compelling. So
all right,
yeah,
I'll have to check it out.
Emperor of the North could be a 6-part streaming series.
See, that would be the fucking thing. Like,
no, I don't think this is the type of thing that gets it. I think this is the type of thing that
the only way you can get this type of story made is if it is a mini series. But the problem would be about the same amount of shit would happen except stretched over 6 episodes. Like that would be the big mistake.
Did you watch Obi-Wan?
I have not.
I didn't either. Unrelated to anything we're talking about, obviously.
See, that's what that fucking show should have been.
Emperor of the North.
Yeah, Emperor of Tatooine. Like that actually makes sense.
Anakin, you aren't stopping this hotel, kid.
No, but the term Emperor of Tatooine makes sense because who the fuck would want to rule Tatooine?
Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, but like he's a
No,
gangster.
I know,
He
but
lives in
like,
a
yeah, that
palace.
was a joke. But like, there is like commentary with all the Tatooine stuff,
And
that,
there are
you know.
hover trains in the Star Wars universe. So could have totally worked.
Anakin, my loyalty is to the hobos, to democracy.
Exactly.
Oh, there you go. Ewan McGregor could be like, no, maybe not Lee Marvin, but
Now,
he's
did you
still
see
got like
him-
untapped potential.
Did you see him in Fargo season 3?
No, but
He looks wild. Like he could totally pull off a like hobo type performance.
oh fuck yeah,
But, yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm a big fan.
I am too. It's a shame about whatever.
Yeah. Well, I hear he's good in Obi-Wan. I hear people
Yeah.
like no one like hated it except for like those weird nerds, you know. But
Yeah,
well,
it's ruined.
That's Star Wars conversation.
It's
That's-
ruined Star Wars. Yeah, you go.
Everything ruins
It's
Star
ruined.
Wars.
Which makes it about the 17th time in Star Wars history
Yeah.
that Star Wars has been ruined beyond repair.
Yeah, interesting. Ask like the kids that are growing up with Star Wars right now, and I bet they don't have that same response. And I'm willing to bet they even like having a show to tune into once in a while.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Who
Sometimes
knows?
stuff's not for you.
it is kind of
Except-
hysterical that like everyone now is like is just like falling over themselves to be like the Clone Wars are like a masterpiece of a show, which like I like the Clone Wars, but I didn't love it. You know, like I'm not
Yeah.
like over the moon about it. But like when that shit came out, people were irate. Like
Mhm.
it's just that's the Star Wars arc, I guess. And the fact that no one points it out like drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But
But you know
nothing-
what is
nothing
for
to do.
everyone is
Hmm.
Emperor of the North.
Yes. What's
Have you
what's-
read Aldrich's comments about it being a box office failure?
No, I have not actually.
All right. He said after release that he'll never understand why it happened because here's his full quote. I thought the symbols were so clear. It never occurred to me that the audience would miss the relationship, that Borgnine was the establishment, Marvin was the anti-establishment individualistic character, and that Keith Carradine was the opportunistic youth who would sell out for whatever was most convenient. I never thought people wouldn't root for the Marvin character. I thought everyone would say, I understand what Marvin is. He's not trying to be regimented and suppressed and denied his rights, and I'm for him. And nobody was. It just didn't happen. Nobody cared.
Hey, that's an interesting take on this movie.
Yeah.
It's almost like he called the Reagan era.
Oh, maybe that's why people like were turned off by it originally too, you know?
Maybe
Like,
because I mean, well, this is like the 70s. The 70s are so weird because it's like got a lot of like the leftovers from the 60s
Mhm.
and like anti-establishment cinema, but like also you're getting the like burgeoning, you know, rightward shift the country's about to take with Reagan.
Mhm.
And I think there was a miscalculation that like everyone thought the youth was just going to inherently become more like anti-establishment, and they did the exact opposite.
Mhm.
And this movie is kind of that with Carradine's character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I think him calling Marvin like an individualistic character might be like a hint at like maybe the mistake this movie makes, because I think the difference is that like he's kind of like number one's like the man of the people, you know, like
Mhm.
he goes and hangs with the hobo camp, and I think a lot of hobo culture is about the sort of like collective like need to help each other, you know.
Mhm.
And there's like that's like the old there was some movie recently that was like big about the hobo symbols that used to get put on houses. I can't remember what movie it was though. Do you know
Oh,
what I'm
fuck.
talking about?
I don't know. I think I remember something too. Was it Candyman?
No, it wasn't Candyman.
Fuck.
I mean, it might have come up in Candyman had a lot of the symbol things too, but that was going
Yeah,
for, like,
yeah.
the
And
whole-
the whole thing's about like gentrification and
Yeah.
all that.
But there's some movie that was like Depression era set that like was specifically about like, you know, people used to put markings outside their house being like, hey, if you're a hobo, come in for a free meal. Like that was a real thing people used to do, which is a sort of collective action that I think is important to understand when fighting the establishment, you know?
Mhm.
And this movie kind of turns him into more of like a cowboy type character, you know?
Mhm.
Which I think works, but it might like it's a little bit of a conflict with the character.
Yeah,
But we
'cause,
do
like,
get a lot of
it's-
the hobo camp and like the hobos like, and everyone's like pulling shit on each other, like where they're trying to run a fast one on one of Shaq's guys to get him to bet, you know,
Mhm.
like we're like they're totally playing him, see if he goes for the bait. That's a really good scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then it's like they're all literally gambling on whether or not a number one can make it, you know,
Mhm.
which is just so fascinating. And yeah, and it is this weird, like the more things change, the more they stay the same, where it's like him, like he's like literally like tagging the places he gets to, you know,
Mhm.
and like calling his shot. And it's like that's graffiti culture, you know.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. And it's just it is this sad like indictment of just this country's failure to get its shit together. That like it is weird. I always thought that line in like Batman Begins where she's like the Great Depression never ended. I'm like, that's a weird line. And like the more I look around, like it kind of didn't for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, not just marginalized communities, just like it kind of like the money just kind of kept flowing upwards. And even in like the New Deal era.
Wait. Do you mean to tell me there's no such thing as trickle down economics?
I hate to bring that up. I
Oh
hate to say
fuck.
it.
There goes all my money in Dogecoin.
It is kind of funny that like even like right wing like economic people like will admit that trickle down economics don't work, you know, like it's just a fact now, but people still repeat it like it's a thing.
Yeah.
Probably because they know the term, you know.
And like, look, if you think of like the world working on like an even keel, like I guess that could kind of make sense. You know, it's like, oh well, if they make money, then we'll make money too, because it'll you know, you have to hit like every level has to be raised up equally. But then if the world was equal, there wouldn't be any levels already. So like, I don't know. It's ridiculous.
I just don't, people don't seem to understand that at a certain point, people turn into just black holes of money. And it doesn't go anywhere. It just
like, have you
stays
seen
with
that
them.
picture of Elon Musk at like riding Space Mountain by himself?
Oh my god, I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
That
it's
sounds
like
great.
the fucking South Park episode with Cartman when he buys the fucking theme park so he can go on everything by himself. And it's like, man, that's like, he doesn't even know how fucking sad his life is. And I don't give a shit about him, obviously. He should be not around. But like on some level, I'm like, fuck, that's just, there's nothing at the end of that money train.
Well, it's that thing of like the most evil people in this world are just like really hollow people, you know, like they're just, there's not much going on in there. And that's kind of the sad thing.
Yeah.
They're not like these Machiavellian people. They're just like kind of fucked up and just really boring.
Yeah. Sorry, you're not Lex Luthor.
They're not Shaq either.
Yeah.
You know, like Shaq's at least Shaq's like a sadist. Like,
yeah.
He enjoys.
He fucking loves killing poor people.
Yeah, he loves killing
It's
poor
disgusting.
people. It's fucking. It's just wild that that's like his character trait. Like it's not like it feels like, again, the shitty version of this movie was made today would be like there'd be a scene where Shaq like says, my father used to be a train man and he used to help the hobos, but then a hobo stabbed him in the back and now I hate hobos. Like that feels like the stupid version of this.
Yeah.
And instead Shaq's like, no, I just fucking hate him. I'm not gonna let him dirty up my train. Like,
And yeah, I mean, there's the whole story you need right there. You know, he's like, no. I run this train. The train needs to be efficient, needs to be clean, needs to be perfect. These variables, these hobos are variables and they could mess it up.
yeah,
I don't want them to mess it up. It's like, is that not like the entire class parable of the movie right there?
yeah, and that's just hobo hatred in general, you know.
Yeah.
Like that's just anti-homeless shit right there.
Yeah, like you're
It's-
mentioning like the anti-homeless like architecture, specifically in California, like these fucking benches that they're putting in now and shit. And like I see it all around downtown too, like just corners with like those weird spikes coming up. And I'm like,
yeah,
what does that do? Like you're just being an asshole. You're spending money to be like evil. You spend all this fucking money for these weird little advancements or fucking regressions, I guess. And all that money could actually go to like helping homelessness like be solved in a way that doesn't hurt anybody.
yeah, get them a fucking house.
Yeah.
Like, again,
Like-
it's the thing. The only way to solve homelessness is to give these people houses. Like, no one wants to hear that, but it's the fucking truth. And that's why we'll never solve it, because no one will do that. Like, that'll take like a massive groundswell to get something like that done. Not saying that won't happen. I'm just saying that don't expect the government to do it.
Oh yeah, no. if there's anything we've learned, it's that the government will literally do nothing unless we kind of ask them to politely and then
Mhm.
stop getting polite about it.
Mhm. Well, the
Uh,
government will always do awful shit,
yeah.
but they'll never do any of the good shit. So,
I mean,
no.
that makes me optimistic too, that people like are starting to see that like
Yeah.
the government is designed this way to
Yeah.
not do things.
Hey, yeah, it should make you optimistic, but it's also the same thing that pushed me towards libertarianism in high school.
Ah.
Like there's no guarantee it'll go either way.
Mhm.
Like I feel like a lot of people are going to come out of it just being like, we should not have government and just have corporations.
Oh no.
Yeah. That's what happens,
Mhm.
It's what happens when there's no fucking anti-war party in this country. Like literally, if that existed, I think a lot more people would just go left in general because most people are against war, but news stations aren't.
Mhm.
Oh my god! All right, I'm just gonna rant on here about an idiot friend of mine.
Okay.
But
Fucking do it.
he was posting about. He always posts these things like, "I bet you there's going to be another COVID scare this week," like implying like the news media is going to drum up COVID scares and like bring back like, and that it's like that COVID is all some sort of scheme by like the news companies to like get more ratings, right? Which is like idiotic.
Yeah.
But the thing that does happen is the news does play up war all the fucking time. Like we haven't shut. Why the fuck do we give a fuck about Ukraine in the way we do in this country? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I'm not saying that like we shouldn't have basic empathy for Ukraine, but like when you go out driving and you see that like people suddenly are waving Ukrainian flags around, like what the fuck is that? Like we don't give a fuck about the dozens of other wars happening around the world, but suddenly we care about Ukraine. And it's like, A, it's because it's happening to white people. And B, it's because the news hasn't shut the fuck up about Ukraine. And it's like, yeah, we're a war culture.
Yeah.
Everything in this country is driven just to grow war, something that just kills people. People are fucking dumb. I have nothing smart to say about that. But
That's fine.
I was just like, I wanted to just be like, what do you think the news is trying to get one over on you with COVID? Like, what do you think they're trying to do to get you to watch like that you are what? And also, by the way, buddy, you're the only person I know in my life who actually watches the news.
Yeah, I have friends that work in the news and I don't watch the news like
Yeah.
like well, at least in the way that it used to be watched, you know.
You watch it when you're at the airport. Like that's it.
That doesn't mean we don't keep up with the news, by the way.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not-
No, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
But like the idea of like, oh, they're just trying to get a ratings boost. And I'm like, who the fuck is tuning into CNN? Like, it's like, oh man, I better figure out what's going on with COVID this week. I gotta fucking wait for Wolf Blitzer's take. Like, it's like in this age where like news is just everywhere. It's whatever. People are fucking dumb. Hey, let's talk about the action scene in the fog.
It's good.
It's incredible. Holy shit, was that a good sequence?
Yeah. Is that the best part of the movie?
I think it might be. That might be a problem with it, is that like it peaks like there almost.
Yeah.
Like, because the stuff that happens after that is fun, but not as good.
I think the throwdown in
The final
finale-
showdown.
I don't want to say too much because I know so many people haven't seen this movie, but we can talk about the fog, but the ending I thought was outstanding. So
The final showdown's terrific, even if the blood like looks really bad. But
yeah, but hey, a lot of blood from movies in that era does look like that.
yeah, you've seen Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. I mean, Dawn of the Dead is like fucking perfect, but yes. Looks
I
like
knew
they're
a
taking
guy-
bites out of like chicken wings.
I knew a guy who was a big in like nerd circles, and he did not like Dawn of the Dead because he did not like the look of the zombies in it. That was his whole take on Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, if you're one of those nerds, don't talk to me. Like, that's so annoying. I'm sorry.
Those are the people. They dominate the discussion. They would never even watch a movie like this, which is why I guess a movie like this just doesn't get made.
Maybe, yeah. Although I will do everything in my power to make hobos action stars again.
Yeah. I mean, they should be.
It's like Robert Aldrich, John Carpenter.
But can you imagine going into a studio and being like, I want to do a Robert Aldrich movie? Like, it just wouldn't fucking happen.
No, you got to say Dirty Dozen and be like, "Oh, Suicide Squad!" Right? Well, no, now you can't do that because Suicide Squad bombed.
Yeah,
Suicide Squad's a failed blockbuster. The
that's the
second
thing.
one.
It's I don't feel like any of the imitators have been successful either.
Hmm.
The longest yard remake probably made money because it was Sandler.
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah, it made 190 million. So
Chump change. That's what that
Yeah.
is.
in that era, that was still a lot of money.
I know. It's so fucked right now.
Yeah, it's the system is really
Okay, but
dumb.
let's talk about the fog action scene. How does one even conceive of a sequence like this?
I bet you it's in because like they reference that this is based on like 2 books, right? Like it's based on a Jack London novel, and it's based on a book by Leon Ray Livingston, who's used to use the alias A Number One. He wrote The Trail of the Hobo of the Tramp, From Coast to Coast, with Jack London was the other one. And I bet you that was just something that they brought up that like during fog, it's easier to sneak onto a train, right?
Mhm.
Now, I don't know where they got literally everything else in that sequence, but god damn, and it just keeps going too. It's another weird thing where it's such a long action set piece that you just don't expect from this era. Like it felt like action back in the day used to come in like short bursts,
Mhm.
and it's like that's like a 10-minute long scene.
It kind of like this is something else I've been thinking about too, with like in regards to film noir and neo noir. Like Shane Black, when he wrote Lethal Weapon, he wrote it as like a kind of more hard boiled neo noir than like a action film noir. Because like the movie, which I love, it definitely leans more into like the action crowd pleasing vibe of that story's capabilities, and like there are bursts of action in Lethal Weapon. There's not a lot of action in that movie until like the last 30 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Which is fine. This is not a criticism. And I just find that so like interesting when movies that like have a certain reputation about being like action heavy, and it's like, no, there's not a lot in that movie. It opens with like a suicide of like a prostitute, and then there's like mystery elements. There's some bursts of action. Then there's like a 45-minute run in that movie where it's just like the characters talking, trying to figure stuff out and getting to know each other. Like,
Yeah.
And it's terrific.
Hell, even Die Hard has a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of stops and starts. And I guess it's just this weird mentality of people like they only remember like Die Hard as being this nonstop action movie.
Yeah. When I first showed it to some friends that hadn't seen it, they liked it, but they were like, I think they were initially underwhelmed because they just like, oh, the reputation. They just thought it had like, it was gonna be like title card, Die Hard.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like not that. It's like so I don't know. It's movies are so different now than how they used to be. Again, not a good or bad thing, but it's nice to have some variety.
Well, there are definitely movies that like are action from like the get-go that can like maintain that energy the whole time.
Yes,
like, there are
much
definitely
like Michael Bay's Ambulance.
Sure, I haven't seen it yet.
You might like it.
Sure. But I mean, like I'm not saying like one is good or bad. It's just it feels like we're leaning heavy to the one. It's just I don't know. You hope the shift comes, but I think I've talked about like my weird obsession with like React culture on YouTube, and it is kind of funny watching people like go back to these movies and being like, wow, I didn't expect to like this old movie that much. And like, I'm just like, is anyone picking up on the like what these movies have that newer movies don't have? Like, that's all I'm hoping for,
Yeah.
Because again, I don't even want to say that like what we have is bad. It's just the fact that it's all we have is bad. And it drives me a little nuts. Yeah. Bring back hobos. Just do that. That's all I want, at least. Can we hit that bar? Is there a homeless superhero?
There should be.
That's what
you know what? Here, the PlayStation Spider-Man game. Peter Parker. No one talks about this. Peter Parker is homeless through like 90% of that game. He loses his apartment in like one of the first missions, and then he's living out of the feast area.
Yeah.
The Aunt May shelter area. Yeah. That That feels very pointed, and no one talks about that with that game.
Was Hancock homeless?
Hancock was homeless, yeah.
Yeah.
He also doesn't like get a home in that movie. So it like, there you go, Spider-Man and Hancock, my two favorite superheroes.
Just
I like
remake
Hancock.
just do Tonight He Comes.
No.
The original script.
No, sorry. You know, I said no immediately because
Why?
I remember the cut scene of him having sex with that one lady,
Oh yeah.
and then he has to like get her off before he ejaculates because it's like a bullet.
Yeah, which is the same joke people have been making about Superman since like Mallrats.
Yeah,
But
I'm glad that scene got cut. That's all. I don't
Yeah.
think I need to. I don't care about that.
I like this. Here's something. I just went to the Hancock Wikipedia, and I'm reading about the development of it. Here's a two sentences back to back about like where did things go wrong. The draft about a troubled 12-year-old and a fallen superhero was initially picked up by director Tony Scott as a potential project. Producer Akiva Goldsman came across the script. I don't know. I just find that funny.
Tony Scott could have made that into something like unbelievable.
Yeah, it was Man almost did it. Like,
I remember.
That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, he still
Like,
produced it.
Yeah. Allegedly, he's in it.
I guess I'll have to rewatch Hancock.
I think he's one of the executives in like a boardroom scene.
He's pitching Heat 2 back in 2008.
Oh man, you know what? I don't know if I want a Heat 2.
I've heard the book is like kind of incredible.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I want a Heat 2.
All right, here's what you do, because the story takes place in like pre-1995 and like post-2002 with the surviving characters. Here's my roster. You ready? Pre-1995 for
I saw you
Reno?
post
No.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So you got Neil McCauley as Christian Bale. All right, that's pre-1995. He's going to be older than the other cast members I'm about to say, but again, he's only going to show up in the pre-1995 material. And then 2002, you get Vincent Hanna, who's played by Robert Pattinson, and Chris Hemsworth as Chris Shirley's.
Do you think that he's just going to go all in on de-aging?
No, I don't think he would. I think he's like a guy who likes doing a lot of stuff in camera.
Yeah, but the guy who also pushed digital filming.
I mean, maybe if anyone can do it, he can fucking do it. It's like him and James Cameron, although only James Cameron gets credit for it. I don't know. Michael Mann made Black Hat work, and that movie shouldn't work, but
Yeah.
it does.
It didn't work initially.
No, it still did.
No, but like it bombed horribly.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's a failed blockbuster.
yeah.
I don't know. It's got potential.
Bring
Michael Mann
back.
could do a movie with a hobo.
He probably could, although it'd have to be like a number one, like to his logical extreme. He's like he can't do movies about people who aren't experts.
I know. Well, there's a hobo in the opening of Heat.
Yeah, but he's like
He was an actual homeless person. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was someone else.
No, there's an actual homeless person who would walk around with like a TV and like a shopping cart.
Yeah.
And then they just use him for the background of that scene. And
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I thought there was this guy. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Who's that guy? There was a guy, he like looks homeless, but like isn't, but like he's played a homeless guy in like 1,000 movies. And like in like not like showy ways either. Because I think he just shows up on film sets.
I don't know.
I can't think of who I'm thinking of though. But hey, yeah, put more homeless people in movies. What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Instead of the weird like we're afraid of cancel culture, we're afraid of the homeless, and we're afraid of the mentally ill.
See, that's how No Way Home should have ended.
With him being homeless.
Yes.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
Fuck
I know
that
you don't
movie.
care. I just care about Spider-Man too much to not have something to chime in there.
That movie should have just not started. It's the only good way to end that fucking movie.
All right, Emperor of the North. I mean, how much more do we want to say?
What's the better title?
What was that?
What's the better title?
Emperor of the North or Emperor of the North Pole? I like Emperor of the North more.
Here's
But it is
the
a-
Emperor of the North sounds better, right? And it's
Yeah.
the one I say, and it was my username basically
Mhm.
on whenever I saw this movie about a decade ago was when I made my first Tumblr account, I think.
Mhm.
And so that was my username on Tumblr, which is why it's been my username forever. But Emperor of the North Pole actually makes sense. So I'm a little conflicted here. Although all the best posters for this movie say Emperor of the North. So reminds me I gotta buy one.
Yeah, so I've assembled this will be out by the time this episode's out, like 100%. But I assembled a quick little roundup of images, posters for this season's failed blockbuster retrospectives that I'm gonna
Mhm.
share on Twitter on the day of recording. And I couldn't really find a super high quality version of Emperor of the North, but it works because I kind of put them all into a single file, and like it
Mhm.
doesn't you won't be able to tell it's like 720p or whatever. But I don't know. I want a poster of this
Yeah.
with the explosion behind Lee Marvin and Ernest Borgnine.
Well, the one I really like is the one that just says, "If you can ride Shaq's train and live, you'll be Emperor of the North."
Yeah, that's the one that's on the thing.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Great movie. They would never make it today. I honestly I went to watch it. I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel because it's one of those where like I don't know, like sometimes like when like a movie like hits you at the right time and you just kind of become obsessed with it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of obsessed with the wild dialogue that Lee Marvin is given in this movie.
Oh, he's fucking just going all in on like these are the most mythic, important speeches a man has ever said.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's great because he's a hobo. He's
Mhm.
nothing. There is a tape of me out there. I think I've told the story. I took a public speaking class in high school, my last year of high school, and I did Ned Beatty's speech from Network as part of my, and I did the final monologue from this movie. Which is a weird one to do because you're basically both of those are weird because you're yelling, both of them.
Mhm.
Like Ned Beatty's at least slows down. Lee Marvin is yelling from the back of a train as it goes away, which is kind of ridiculous, but hey, the speech is great.
Yeah, no,
So-
I thought about that when I was watching. I was like, there's no way you'd be able to hear him, but whatever. This is awesome.
So bum's world for a bum. Like, oh, it's great. The movie's so fucking good. I'm glad. I'm just glad you liked it, I guess. And I am glad it held up on rewatch. And I hope that the 5 people that listen to this fucking show all check it out and don't leave some fucking ridiculous fucking review that's like, yeah, it was good for like the first half, but then it kind of slowed down. Because it does kind of slow down for a bit, but it's not like awful slowed down.
Yeah.
You fuckers.
It's like intentional, you know.
Yeah.
Just make sure when you have the juice, you also have the heart.
Yeah.
And you got to watch the movie. to
And they
understand
go
what that
together,
means.
kid.
Yeah. Watch the movie and you'll understand. So now you have to, all of you. Matt, this is our shortest retrospective in a while. Thank you
Yeah,
for joining
it's-
me.
Yeah, we're on a time crunch today, unfortunately. So I'm like rushing through it a little bit.
Nah,
Um,
it's fine. I mean, this way people can go in as blind as possible
Hmm.
to the movie where hobos fight a train. Basically,
That is the thing. Like most of the times, I can assume that most people have seen it or have had. Like this is one where like you kind of have to tell people to go to archive.org to find a copy. You know,
Mhm.
otherwise it's only available on DVD currently. Holy shit! $45 for a DVD copy of Emperor of the North? Are you fucking kidding me?
I'd pay for that.
Well, it's only $20 on Blu-ray. So
Oh wait, what the fuck?
oh, it's a Spanish Blu-ray.
Oh no, I'm good. I'm
Oh.
covered. I don't know about the rest of you people.
All right. The other version is $188 on Blu-ray. Hey, someone re-release this, please. Who the fuck is sitting on these rights?
I know. It's always such stupid fucking bullshit.
Yeah. Like who
That's what
cares
stopped
about
the Shane Black Doc Savage from happening. Just some
what's that?
random fucking people didn't agree with the right stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, you never know. Those are always stories where someone got screwed out of like millions or something like that.
That's always possible too. You're right.
Although, is anyone connected to Doc Savage alive? Like,
Maybe it's like a family estate thing. And so you're right. You're right. It's always important to keep that in mind.
it's always important to keep that in mind, but it's also like, yeah, or it could just be a Spider-Man thing where like 7 companies think they own the rights.
Mhm.
Or whoever made Doc Savage the Man of Bronze in like 1982 or whatever thinks that they got it. I think it was from 75. Holy shit. Another failed blockbuster.
Yeah, it happens.
Is a script out there for Shane Black's Doc Savage?
Yes, it fell off a truck just right in front of my house.
Oh, hey.
I don't know. Allegedly,
All right.
allegedly, it's
Well, maybe we could do a failed blockbuster in that the movie so failed it never even got made.
No.
The screenplay.
That's not the worst idea. Does Shane Black have any failed blockbusters that we haven't talked about?
Well, have we talked about Nice Guys? Like, look, we've talked about movies, but like, have we gone in on Shane Black?
Just for the Predator.
Yeah, just the Predator.
Everyone's favorite Shane Black. No, we haven't. Oh, you know what? We haven't done Nice Guys or The Long Kiss Goodnight or
And-
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is also like basically a flop.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, it is. He has said that he had to go like on his hands and knees for jobs after that.
Which is
So-
it's so stupid.
It's fucking ridiculous.
So
The guy who invents like the modern action movie
Hmm.
just fucking.
But what happens? Why does every time like his movie comes out, like it just doesn't click? Like
I don't know.
the Nice Guys really
genuinely-
felt like it should have been the one because like that one they actually did promote.
Yeah. Everyone who saw the trailer loved it.
I know it was one of those like it's one. I remember people being like, "This could be a new classic if it's good." Like that was the actual buzz around that movie before it came out, and then like I think people saw it, but not like a lot of people saw it.
Yeah. Well, it came out, I think, at the wrong time. And it's like perfect for like a crowd pleaser, but Captain America: Civil War kind of dominated that.
Yeah,
year.
you know what? Those fuckers.
Yeah.
That's must have been what it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, the worst Marvel movie
Yeah, that would
ruined
be
Shane Black.
that's got to be Warner Brothers' fault then, because like, why would they be that stupid?
Yeah, I'm.
Right.
No credit to Joel Silver, the man, but
Mhm.
as a producer, I feel like he could have fought harder to like change that shit.
Yeah, but maybe they genuinely thought it was going to be. I think they just kept being that thing of people being like, "This is going to be the year that people are finally done with Marvel," and then it just never happened.
Mm-hmm. But you know what I remember? This is like really depressing. I remember from like the press junket run, Shane Black was like, like maybe instead of going to watch Captain America 6 times, go 5 times and go 1 time to our movie.
Yeah,
I was like, Jesus. This guy
How
made
many-
Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 made a fucking $1 billion for them.
Mhm. That Iron Man 3 is honestly the one that is like that's what cements Marvel is going to be like this unstoppable juggernaut. You know, like
And
that's
some
the
people
movie.
still call it the best one. And
It
I'm
is.
not going to fight them on that.
Yeah, it is the best one, but it's just that's the one where because like everyone's like, well, what's going to happen after Avengers? Because up until that point, they'd only the other like Thor 1 and Captain America 1 had like done moderately well, but not like great. And I think in the long run, we're actually like money losers.
Mhm.
And then Iron Man 3 comes out and makes $1 billion. And it's like, oh, Marvel's just going to fucking print
See,
money
here's the
forever.
fucking problem. This has nothing to do with Emperor of the North anymore, but I'm going to say
Yeah.
it anyways. Shane Black is really good at writing like character drama mixed with action, and like
And no one
punctuates
wants no one wants that shit anymore.
But he did it with Iron Man 3 so well that people are still convinced that these other movies are gonna do that well. Even if
Mhm.
they don't like Iron Man 3, they think they're getting like fulfilling character stories from them. And very often they're not. I'll go to bat for some of them. Most of the time, nothing really matters with them. So
Mhm.
who cares?
Fuck Hollywood. Fuck movies. Go watch Emperor of the North on archive.org for literally free.
Yeah, it's free. You fucking
Hey,
you
I
can
guess
watch
it
a movie
makes
for
sense.
free?
Yeah, I guess it makes sense that a movie about hobos would be on that site. Like it almost seems like it's required by law.
Well, hey,
Because that's the
Rest
strong
Easy-
that's a thing people actually use against the fucking library in this country is
Mhm.
that they attract hobos. Like that's a thing I've heard the argument made.
So fucking stupid.
Mhm.
Well, here, let this knowledge help you rest easy in that the film currently has 11,692 views on archive.org.
There you go.
So at least 11,000 people have seen it.
It's been
Or
logged 3,300 times on Letterboxd
Mhm.
and has 787 likes.
Okay, that's not the lowest.
So it's a page 2 Letterboxd film.
Hmm.
What does that mean? It means that when you go to the year 1973, you have to go to page 2 before it comes up.
Oh.
But hey,
Oh.
too
Matt,
many
where
people
can people find
watching.
you?
Too many people watching whatever's on Criterion this week, like Fantastic Planet or Robin Hood. That's a Disney Plus one.
Hmm. Well, where can the people find you talking about
Well,
Emperor of the North?
Well, they can find me at EmperorOTN at twitter.com.
Oh, there's no more one?
Oh, yeah, there's still one.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
number one.
Hey, there you go. That's your excuse now. You can find me at the Diego Crespo. Check out the Waffle Pros on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon. Get some early access to other episodes we're going to be recording. I can't tell you how many, but there's 5 right now, including this one that you can listen to. So go do that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you didn't like this episode, like and subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. But let's be honest, you'll like this episode because it's about Emperor of the North.
Because it was short for once.
And it was short. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional. Wait.
Oh, we gotta pick the next film.
I gotta do the next one. Okay. You know what? I almost forgot, but I did have my little tab open. So let me run down the numbers really quick. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Our next film is Monkey Bone.
Monkey Bone.
I know nothing about this movie.
Oh no.
Other than it's a Henry Selick movie and it has Brendan Fraser, and I remember the trailers, and this was the peak of my Mummy fandom, and I was like, oh, I want to see Brendan Fraser. I never saw it.
Well, there's a reason.
Oh,
There's a reason why a lot of people didn't see it. People like it though.
Yeah, Dan Doherty.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're doing Monkey Bone.
All right, Monkey Bone. Okay.
They put Chris Kattan on the poster instead of Bridget Fonda.
I'm sure that's a good sign.
It definitely is. Remember Chris Kattan?
I do.
All right, if you go to Chris Kattan on Letterboxd, don't do it.
We're
But if you
so
do,
close.
don't do it. But if you do, what is the most watched movie he's been in on Letterboxd?
What's that one movie with Will Ferrell? Night at the Roxbury?
That's number 3.
Whoa.
So he's got 2 more.
What the fuck else has he been in? No offense to the man. I like him as an actor.
Believe it or not, they are movies where I bet you he has what could be charitably described as cameo roles.
Okay, well then I'm never gonna guess.
I guess he's buddies with this man. He's in Hotel Transylvania 2 and The Ridiculous 6.
Oh.
So
Wow.
cashed in on Corky Romano isn't in the top 10.
Chris Kattan retrospective.
Absolutely not.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Chris Kattan isn't in Southland Tales, is he?
No.
He's not. It feels like he should be.
I get what you. I know exactly what you
Just
mean.
like that's got definitely his era SNL guys in it, like and John Lovitz
and Kevin Smith.
Oh yeah, as an Iraq War veteran.
That's an
and
incredible film.
Old man makeup.
Oh my god, I love it so much.
He explains time travel with Booger from Revenge of the Nerds and Sheldon Rubenstein to The Rock. Oh my god. Why didn't we? Neither of us thought of that.
I think we did, but we trimmed some away. But
yeah, I guess
we'll have to talk about our thought process next time.
Yes.
All right. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We've been professionally unprofessional. Now it's over.
So long, kid.